Good morning, everyone. At the age of 10, I stood in front of the class. My heart was pounding so hard that it echoed in my ears. My hands were sweating, my mouth went dry, and my teacher asked me to read aloud. And I froze. My voice cracked, stumbled, and disappeared. For the first time, I felt as if I've lost everything. I struggled not just to speak, but to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a stammer, and that made me feel so bad about it. From that moment on, I became obsessed with the idea that if I worked hard enough, if I succeeded enough, or if I struggled and proved myself enough to the world, probably I'd fix something that was broken. And I started chasing success. And in that chase, I lost something valuable. I found my way back home. But before that, I want to ask you, by show of hands, how many of you have set goals and achieved it? And after achieving it, you still found some emptiness within you. Can I have a show of hands? Thank you. So I'll tell you how I found my way back home. And I started meditating and visualizing early after that incident in my school. And when I visualized, I understood that it is giving me some positivity. And with that positivity, I understood that now I need to step out of my comfort zone. And I started facing my fears by participating in elocution, sports, dramatics. Back then, I had no idea of what visualization meant, but it was just instinct. I closed my eyes and I thought, that's the only solution I have today. So I just went about it, and fast forward 2 decades. I improved my fluency on the stage, but after that, 2 decades, I ran the race, the normal rat race which the societies wants us to run. I did that, but after 2 decades, healing found me back. This time, I was not even looking for it. And that's the journey, my dear friends. I call it as the journey of becoming the original you and coming back home. So I'm going to share with you a 5-step framework which can help you to become the original you and come back home. Not just to yourself, but to being the true selves that you really are. The 5-step framework starts with self-awareness. It is the mirror moment. The mirror moment is when you start seeing yourself not how others see you, but how you really are. For me, that happened early when I realized that my stammer was not a speech issue, but it was a disconnect issue. I got disconnected from myself, and I just closed my eyes, and I visualized a young boy on the stage speaking freely. Not because I knew what meditation was, but because it helped me at that moment. And it came to me naturally. It helped me survive. And it got me my voice back. And it got me my sense of self back. That was more important. That was the first step towards healing that I had. Second stage is about the echoes in the chamber. It is the self-reflection moment. And in the quiet space that we all have, the deep questions that come to us are like reflections of our own selves. For me, it happened in my early 20s. And I heard these questions as echoes. And those echoes were something like this. Sundeep, is this truly your path? Are you doing this for validation or for truth? But I brushed them off. I brushed them off because the world applauded achievements and performance, right? So I also ran that rat race of success, achievement, and performance for the next 1.5 decades. But here's the thing. Echoes don't disappear. They just quieten down, but they keep coming back to the surface every now and then. And in every quiet moment, the self-reflective mode kicks in, and it reminds you. It doesn't come back there to shame you. It comes there to show you the truth. That brings me to the next stage. The next stage is the unpacking. This is the unpacking is where it gets more intense and the friction increases. It is more interesting because this is the stage where the friction between who you really are and what you're projecting yourself as to the world, that increases, that intensity of the friction increases, and you cannot hold it anymore. And this stage for me came around in my early 30s, and I was seeing that I am ticking off all the boxes. An MBA from a premier institution, global careers, global roles, and a six-figure lifestyle. But still, I was unfulfilled. And that is when I realized that, I was running for someone else. I was proving something else. And that's when I decided to drop my emotional baggage and unpack the emotional baggage I had been carrying for so long. I silenced my inner critic. I let go of the limiting beliefs. And most important, I let go of others' definition of success that was imposed on me till then. And that is the stage where I also understood my inclination towards freedom, authenticity, and personal growth, which got kindled and ignited during my early contemplative practices due to my school incident. And that is where I understood that now I need to take some step towards a career which is aligning with my core values. And I started taking baby steps in that direction, where I just had a slight glimpse of what my next career could be. And a glimpse came of a life and self-leadership coaching organization. But I just took baby steps, nothing much at this stage. And that brought me to the next stage, and that is the embrace. The embrace is where you start connecting your dots looking back. And I also connected the dots looking back. I made peace with my childhood incident. I also understood why, despite having a super successful corporate career of 15 years, why am I willing to let go of that lucrative career that I have for something else? I also understood the incidents that had happened in the past and how it unfolded and the lessons which were underlying. I was able to connect all of that, and then I understood that now is the time for me to take massive action. And then in that stage, I took big decisions, I would say massive decisions, to set up an organization in the space of life and self-leadership coaching. And here, I almost decided that it is time for me to start moving towards a new career. And that brings me to the next stage, that is the becoming. The becoming is not about reinvention. It's about revelation. Becoming the original you is about coming back to your essence of who you truly are. Coming back to the version of you that existed even before the world told you who to be. Do you know the number one regret of the dying? It's this. The number one regret of the dying is, I wish I lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. Ladies and gentlemen, success alone doesn't guarantee fulfillment. Alignment does. And it is this need for alignment that led to the birth of an organization that I founded at this stage in the life and self-leadership coaching space. We impacted almost 50,000 individuals' lives and helped them realign, reimagine, and rise in their true selves. I also wrote a book on the topic of conscious leadership, which is about heart-centered, purpose-driven, and values-focused leadership style. I also have given there a 5-stage framework for self-leadership. And then I would like to share with you this pic, which was of a retreat, premier retreat that we had, and a recap of the 5 stages. And now, I would like to share with you a study. A study done by Yale University found out that almost 70% of working professionals were disconnected from the deeper meaning of their work. The reason? The imbalance, or the imbalance between their sense of purpose and the sense of impact that they were making. It led to rise in their burnout and the stress levels. Now, alignment is important, let me tell you. And for that alignment, I'm going to give you a tool. And the tool is this. Ladies and gentlemen, the tool is this mirror. Mirror not to see yourself. Mirror is to see, it's not to see your face, it's to see your inner selves and ask yourself, who am I? What am I here for? If you cannot remember anything from this talk, remember at least this, one thing. You do not have to find a better version of you outside of you. You need to just come back to the version which is inside you, waiting for you to come. And now, I'd like to share with you one 5 minutes hack that you can try tonight. The same moment. Close your eyes and put your right hand on the heart in a quiet corner and ask yourself, which part of me have I abandoned to feel accepted? I repeat, ask yourself, which part of me have I abandoned to feel accepted? Write down whatever comes. Do not filter. That's where you start your journey back home. Remember, friends, coming home is not an option. It is mandatory if you need fulfillment. Coming home is a breath. It's a belief. It's a beginning. And let me end this by leaving one question with you. Which part of you have you left behind while chasing success? And more importantly, are you willing to come back home? Remember, the soul always knows how to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Thank you.